Welcome to the Happy Hour with Rob Warner, an hour of stimulating conversation adding value to your financial future. Rob brings helpful insights into many aspects of the mortgage and real estate industry. Now, here's your host, Rob Warner.
Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. Excited to be with you again today. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend and a happy Monday. I have two guests with me today, Peter Tateishi of the Sacramento Metro Chamber, and Mike, is it Petras? Petras of Absolute Inspection Services. So we should have a really good show today, and we're going to start with Peter. Peter, how's it going today?
Good afternoon. Going well.
Hey, Peter, tell me a little bit about yourself. I don't really know much about you.
So I'm a native here, born and raised in a suburb called Carmichael, and love the Sacramento region, and have always been invested in seeing it thrive and prosper. And so now I have the great opportunity to work as President and CEO of the Sacramento Metro Chamber, where we work every day to support the business community and create an environment that allows for more jobs and more opportunities for business.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. You know, I Googled you earlier because I wanted to know a little bit about you, and I saw a little piece you had done on basically, I don't know how to describe it, but how you were like a workaholic for a while in your life. I mean, this is off point a little bit, but can you share that a little? I think that's kind of an important thing.
Sure. So, early in my career, I found myself wanting really hard to create a situation where I might be indispensable to the boss, if you will. And I really put myself out there in a way where I was finding myself working 7 days a week, no vacations, no days off. And I was making a lot of progress at work in some regards, but I also found myself in the hospital after a few months of that in a way that, if I was really trying to create myself as an indispensable person, I found myself as completely dispensable being in a hospital bed. So it was a good lesson to kind of learn that, you need to take time for yourself and for your work, and that if you're going to be productive at work, you have to be a healthy person.
I know I get caught up in that all the time because my job, entails me to talk to people in the evenings a lot. Yeah. So I find myself, well, my wife can attest to that if she's listening, that, you wind up working and never take any vacation or anything.
No, yeah, and now that I have children, I'm absolutely wanting to be available to them as well, and I want to be able to have that right kind of balance. And so it definitely taught me a good lesson that no one's indispensable, and that the only really person that's indispensable is a parent to their kids, and I need to be there for them. So having time is a great opportunity for me, and I love it now. So I have a better balance.
Good for you. I'm glad you made it through that okay.
Thanks.
Hey, tell me, what's the role of the Chamber of Commerce?
Sure. So the Chamber of Commerce really is an association of all businesses in whatever region they represent. There are lots of different chambers. We happen to be the Sacramento Metro Chamber, which is the 6-county regional chamber for the greater Sacramento area. And so our job every day is to really be the voice of business and to make sure that businesses have a venue in which they can come together and advocate and support other businesses in the region to help grow our local economy. We know that we have a regional economy. It doesn't end at jurisdictional boundaries. So where a city line or a county line stops or ends doesn't mean that jobs and money don't flow across those lines. So we work very hard every day to support the business community at large and work on the advocacy piece at the local, state, and federal levels and make sure that businesses have that voice. We're not always successful here in the state of California, but we want to make sure that the businesses have that avenue to make sure that as government is making decisions and putting in regulations, that we have every opportunity to make sure that they understand the unintended or intended consequences that come with those decisions.
Well, I tell you, I've heard you on a previous radio show before, so I feel like I've known you a little while, but I really like what you stand for. I really like that you go all out for the local businesses.
Well, I mean, you think about it, quality of life starts with quality of jobs, and if we don't have a great economy supporting job creation and job opportunities, then we're not going to really have a great quality of life here in the Sacramento region.
Agreed. It must be a tough bill to fill, to do what you do all day, right?
Well, it keeps us very busy at the Metro Chamber.
I'm sure you have challenges with the government and stuff, right? With our
on occasion.
We won't get too political here, but so you attended Talk to me about transit, because I know transit's a big thing right now, right?
Yeah, so I mean, transit absolutely in our is a big indicator and driver for our local economy. Our six county region moves a lot of people in and out and across this region every day, and circulates a lot of people and goods. And if we don't have good circulation of people and goods, we're not going to have a very strong economy. And so the Sacramento Metro Chamber has been very big on focusing on transit over the last few years and trying to raise its profile and help businesses who don't always think of transit as a priority, helping them understand why it's important to the long-term viability of our local economy here. And
Well,
so,
give an example of that.
so when you think about being able to compete for a workforce right now, more and more of the younger generation is targeting or looking to move to places where they don't have to own a car, and so they're looking for good, solid transit systems. That's one of the top five uh, indicators of what young professionals are looking for in the communities that they're choosing to live in. And we need to have that kind of pipeline of workforce choosing Sacramento. And if we don't have the right transit system, they're not going to be looking at Sacramento as the long-term place for them to relocate to. So we know that that's an important part of our workforce. And without a strong workforce, no matter how many jobs you have, if you can't get people to fill those jobs, we're not going to be able to survive in that kind of environment. So transit's very important to that dynamic. Additionally, it goes to a quality of life. If you're stuck on a freeway, if you're stuck on surface roads because our arteries are clogged right now with too much traffic, it goes to the question of whether or not this is a very good quality of life. And so we know that having a stronger transit system where more people can be moved every day adds to the opportunity. We've seen that. It's really interesting. We had a wonderful John Martin was his name from the Southeastern Institute for Research come out last week and talked to our region and business communities about the importance of transit. And one of the things he said was that when people look at the quality of life, the number or of minutes they spend in commuting is a direct indicator of the quality of life as to how they rate whether or not they're having a good quality of life. So we know that we need to look at lowering the number of commute minutes, if you will, in our region. It's not as bad as the Bay Area or Southern California, but it is increasing every year, year over year. And so we need to continue to look at how we can create a better transit system and lower those commute minutes.
I know I wouldn't think about it that much because I get in my car every day, right? I
Right.
do not think of, and I'm sure other folks don't think about it either.
And, but I think we all think about it the minute we're sitting in traffic.
Oh, no, that there, but you know what I mean? But thinking about transit, but when you say transit, you're talking about everything.
Everything, all systems. And, the truth is we haven't always had, and we still don't have the best transit systems yet, right? When we think of the Bay Area, we think of BART. When we think of even Washington, D.C., we think of the Metro. We think of many different avenues. We have light rail and buses. But candidly, our buses don't move on an efficient way, and light rail doesn't move the most efficient way to move lots of people in and out of our core every single day. So when we think about transit, we need to think about how we look at a coordinated system-wide effort to be able to move more people easily and effectively across the region. Candidly, we've got 13 different transit districts moving people in and out of the city of Sacramento right now. So that's a bit of a coordination nightmare that's not always working in our favor.
So are there any things on the table right now? Can you give an example of something that might be on the table?
So absolutely. So when we think about these things, the first thing was actually creating a system within Sacramento Regional Transit, which is kind of the largest transit system in our district in our region, to really make sure that its act was being improved. And Henry Lee, who's the new general manager, a little less than a year now he's been in the job. He has done a phenomenal job in listening to the needs of the workforce, of the businesses, and saying, here's what we need to do to improve our system. SAC-RT did not have a great reputation for its transit services, and candidly, when the Golden One Center opened last September, we weren't sure if transit would be able to meet the demand for folks trying to move downtown. And so Henry Lee came in and really refocused on having a safe and secure transit system and then a reliable transit system. And we had a lot of people who were afraid to use our transit systems. We had a lot of incidents of crime and fare skippers and other things that were just making the system not workable for the average person. He came in and he has really done a great job, especially and with the help of his board members. Jay Schneer, who was the chair, and now Andy Marin of Folsom, who's the board chair, really did a solid job of saying we've got to get the choice rider, people who make a choice every day as to whether or not they should ride transit, to start choosing SAC-RT. And so looking at light rail, looking at buses, looking at all of the different avenues that we can do that. But first, it starts with a safe and secure and clean transit system, and then one that's reliable, so that if you know it's coming every 10 to 15 minutes, it's coming every 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, very good. That's good to know. I mean, there's still going to be 13 different districts, though?
For right now, those
that can't be changed.
Well, it can be, and that's worth the long-term conversation. I think the Metro Chamber, who's been around now for 121 years, or 122 years, I should say, it's committed to having the long-term conversations to really help our economy become stronger and looking at long-term solutions like the transit districts.
Very, very good. Hey, give out some of your information real quick because we're going to go to a break in a minute, and I don't want to miss out on that, how people can get a hold of the Chamber.
Sure. The Sacramento Metro Chamber's website is metrochamber.org. It's a great place with lots of information on becoming a member if you're not a member, but also on the upcoming programs and events, our advocacy platforms, and even our Small Business Development Center and our foundation that's working on a lot of workforce development programs right now. So metrochamber.org is the best way to just learn everything about the Chamber, or you can always call us at 552-6800.
Well, we're going to take a short break. Stick with us, everyone. We'll be right back.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner of Guild Mortgage. We're joined again by Peter Tateishi from the Metro Chamber. Peter, right before you were giving out the information and mentioning some things the Chamber does, and one of them is the Small Business Development Center. Now, this is kind of near and dear to me because I think this is a real important facet, right?
Absolutely.
Can you kind of explain?
Sure.
More about that?
The Small Business Development Center is actually a federal franchise, if you will. So the Small Business Administration, the SBA of the federal government, actually licenses out to every county in the country a Small Business Development Center. And so the counties are grouped into regions, and then regions then provide services free of charge to different small businesses to help them in basically their look at growth, either starting up, growing, and getting access to capital. So what we have done over the last 2.5 years of running this program here at the Sacramento Metro Chamber, we run the Capital Region Small Business Development Center, which services 8 counties in the greater Sacramento region. So Sacramento, South Placer, Western El Dorado counties, then all of Yolo, Yuba, Sutter, and Colusa and Lake counties. So we provide services free of charge to anyone who's looking to start up a business or looking to grow their business. And we provide one-on-one consultation services to folks to help them understand what it is to start up a business, help them with business plans and financing plans, communication strategies, HR help, and then what we are really driven to do is help them get access to capital. We know that the number one issue for small businesses in growing their business, whether it's starting up or growing their business from where it is now, is getting access to capital. So we help connect those dots and help make sure that you become as lendable as a bank can see you as lendable, and really get that capital flowing. So in our first 2.5 years, we have put over $22 million of capital into the small business community here in our greater Sacramento region.
Yeah, that's excellent. Tell me about that. Is it easier to get financing when somebody's been through the program?
Well, we hear that from our lenders every day, is that if you've been through our SBDC and you've been referred by the SBDC to them for lending purposes, not that it's a rubber stamp because it's never a rubber stamp, but they take you much more seriously, and they know that you come in prepared with all of the documents that are necessary for lending. So the business plan being there, the financial planning being there, and then also being able to know how to do the forms and have everything ready to actually go ahead and apply for the lending.
It's huge. I know I had my own little mortgage company down in Orange County, right, some years back. I had to get a book on how to do a business plan. I mean, I had to do it the hard way. I had nobody to help me out. Well,
and that's why we are here as a service to the community. It really is a great service. We do workshops as well to help folks because, it's one thing to know your industry. It's another thing to own your business. And just because you can be an expert and be very knowledgeable in what you do, it's a totally different thing to actually then run the business. So, we've helped psychologists who have gone to lots of schooling to get their certifications, licensing. they come out and they want to hang their shingle, but hanging that shingle takes a lot of work. And so we help them with that process to make sure that they can be successful small businesses. And we know that every day, opening up a business or growing a small business is going to be the real economic driver for a region versus assuming that one large company is going to be the saving windfall for a region.
Agreed. So talk about the workshops.
Yeah, so we have introduction to lending and loans so that businesses who are just toying with the idea of getting capital, they can kind of get a feel, see if they're really ask them, kind of get to the checklist of are you really ready and serious to take on this risk and this opportunity, and just help them start to really formulate their plan in their head so that then they can come in for the one-on-one counseling sessions. We do HR consultations, we do QuickBook trainings, we do things that businesses don't necessarily know how to do right away because I mean, bookkeeping is an important piece of every business.
And there's no charge?
There's no charge for those
things. Oh, my gosh,
things.
I can't believe it.
So these are things that we do to really help the business community as part of our mission as the Sacramento Metro Chamber. We want to support small business growth. You know, we support all businesses in the region. We've got large members and medium-sized and small businesses here in the region. But, you know, we know that our charge really is that small business. We can see growth. We've seen over 550 jobs created and retained in our first 2 years of running the Small Business Development Center. We've seen over 100 new starts in our region. So, you know, when we can talk about 100 new companies are here, over 500 jobs have been created in this space, those are real numbers. That's real data. And candidly, those are real people who are going to be looking to buy homes. Those are real people who are going to be, you know, shopping in your retail. It becomes, this is how you grow an economy, by creating more job opportunities.
And do you stay in contact with those companies?
We do. Some of them are long-term clients that even after they get their loans, they stay in communication with us, and they even come back when they're looking to grow even more. So
most of them are still thriving then? And
most of them, to our knowledge, are still thriving and alive in this economy. But it's still tough, which is why you also need that complementary service of the advocacy piece to fight for better policies that support small business growth here in the state and here in our local region.
Which comes by being a member of the Metro
Which comes by being a
Chamber.
member.
Okay.
We're only as strong as the members that we represent.
Okay, I got it. Hey, I know you had mentioned, or I saw it somewhere, about housing in Sacramento. Okay, rents rising, and I know you know quite a bit about, or you track a lot of that data.
We do track a lot of that information. And, you know, that goes again to quality of life, and that goes to affordability and competitive advantage for our region. As we partner with our sister entity, Greater Sacramento Economic Council, who's really charged with attracting and helping with retention of businesses here, you know, we know that having a competitive edge is critically important for our long-term success. And that means, you know, having affordable rents and affordable housing. Candidly, we don't have the inventory that is necessary. So when we also partner with our North State Building Industry Association, they'll tell you right now that they could be building more. They want to be building more, but there are a lot of regs. There are a lot of costs that are built in right now that are not allowing us to build as quickly as we should be to really keep prices down. And that's our biggest problem, especially in the core where a lot of these young professionals want to be living. We don't have enough housing options for them in the downtown Sacramento areas, and we need to be looking at more options. I mean, we just got a great program or project approved 2 weeks ago at City Council to look at adding almost 3,000 more units into the Sacramento area in Natomas. Having those come online is going to be able to, it really is what keeps housing down. So when you have more inventory, especially when our demand right now is so high.
I know. What project is that? A particular project?
It's the Greenbrier project.
Oh, I've heard about that.
So it's right there where 99 and 5 split near the airport. But that's going to be critically important for transit. It allows for the density to bring in the Green Line, which would allow us to get light rail out to the airport, which is extremely important to be able to move people. We're one of the few metropolitan areas where you get to the airport, there is no way to get to Sacramento without a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft.
So this would enable you to do that, this project?
Well, to be able to get to the Green Line, which is not quite done, but we need to have the density built out there so that we can get federal funding to help with that. And this will allow for more density, and it's good mixed-use density so that we'll have a lot of what we call upgradable homing, right? So where you start with a potential rental unit in an apartment, but then you look for your starter home, and then you look for a larger home, and then it even has some affordable senior care facilities. So you could literally spend your entire life out in Greenbrier, which we think is a great opportunity.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah, this market's been scaring me a bit, by the way, Peter, with the rents and the increase in values.
Well, absolutely. It makes it hard for the mobility to occur, and we need that because here's the thing. If folks who are in rentals have or disincentivized to move out of their rentals and into purchasing homes, those rentals don't come onto the market. And so you then continue to inflate the cost of rents when people aren't able to have mobility in the marketplace. So we need homes, we need starter homes, we need upgrade homes, we need rental units, we need market pricing for all of these to come into play. And right now we just don't have enough of it coming online in our region.
Yeah, there's a lot of young families that are stressing out there right now, I'm sure, right?
Well, and as much as we should never have our economy reliant so much on the construction industry, construction jobs are good jobs. And when construction is occurring, we have more people employed, more middle-class jobs occurring, which creates, again, more mobility in our economy. So we need to have that construction moving again to help our economy as well.
So what else is new over there at the Metro? These are just some bullet points I was looking up today. Is there anything else that's new and great going on over there right now?
We just sold out actually for our study mission program in October to Austin. And so every year the Metro Chamber takes a group of business, civic, and community leaders, so elected officials, business leaders, and community partners to a different city to kind of look at what they're doing, that lessons learned, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but lessons learned from different regions and cities that are of like size. Austin, a capital city, a fourth region in a big state, is thriving right now. It has a great brand identity, and it's something that we're trying to capitalize on here in our region. It's got a great university system, just like we do in Sac State and UC Davis. What are they doing to be the second most attractive place for young professionals to move to in the country, right? Those are the types of things that we want to learn from them. So we're excited to be able to go to Austin in October. And I think a lot of people are. We've never sold out this program, and right now it is sold out. There is a waiting list, though, so go to metrochamber.org if you're interested in attending that program. It's a 4-day program to Austin, sandwiched in between Austin city limits, so it should be a great thing. But that identity of being the music capital is an extremely important identity for the Music City. Is very, very big for Austin, and so that's a program that we're very excited about, doing a lot of planning, and got great volunteer leaders like Jim Alves, our program chair, who's making that happen. And then we have our state of agriculture. As we look to our identity as being the farm to fork capital of America, what does that mean? What's the agricultural business impacts on things in our region? So in August, we have our state of agriculture event, in which this year our theme is Crushing It. And we are talking about the number 3 ag industry in our region, which is wine. And so we're going to be talking about that wine process from dirt to table and even to export. So it's going to be a very big conversation. We're very excited about that.
Where's that at?
That's going to be at the Hyatt on August 3rd, and so it'll be a luncheon. It'll be a great event. Again, metrochamber.org is a great place to find all the information and learn how you can support creating a stronger, more vibrant economy by joining the Metro Chamber. Again, we can't do these things without the support of our members. They enable us to have a louder voice, a bigger pulpit, to make sure that we can fight for the business community every day. But we need every business to be a part and invested in this kind of creating the right economy long term. It doesn't happen by accident, folks. So we need every business standing there with the Metro Chamber so we can make impact for the long term, because I'll be darned if I have to commute to see my grandkids in the future. I want my kids to have an opportunity in the future here in the Sacramento region, but we got to build that now. So we need every business standing up and working towards a better and stronger regional economy, and the Metro Chamber is the best place to do that.
It is. You certainly work your butt off over there, and I know you do a very good job. So give out the information. We have about a minute left. Just one more time, just how folks can get a hold of.
Yeah, so we'd love everyone to just check out the Sacramento Metro Chamber's website, metrochamber.org. They can give us a call at 552-6800. One of our member services reps will be happy to talk with you and learn more. I'm available to everybody as well. My direct line is 916-321-9114. You can give me a call when I'm in the office, and we'd love to chat with you about how you can invest in this region and make it stronger.
It's great having you, Peter. It's excellent talking to you again. We'll be right back after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us.
Bringing helpful insights into many aspects of the mortgage and real estate industry, it's the Happy Hour with Rob Warner.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour. This is Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage, and our next guest is Mike Petras. Mm-hmm. Am I saying that right?
That's correct, yeah.
From Absolute Home Inspection
Services.
Services. Mike, it's actually your company, correct?
It is my company, yeah.
All right. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, too, just a little background on you.
Okay, a little bit of background about myself is I'm actually a Bay Area transplant to the area. I moved up, I would say, about 8-9 years ago here at this point, and absolutely fell in love with the Sacramento region. People up here much nicer than generally the hustle bustle that you got down in the Bay Area. And I've just kind of nestled in, bought, and made this place my home. So it's a wonderful thing to be up in here, and I've starting this little business of mine that seems to be thriving off. And what can I say other than that? That it's just a pleasure to be up in the Sacramento region.
Very good. Well, how long have you been in the business?
I've actually been in business since 2009. Okay, so working on 10 years now. If you include my experience working with Pulte and KB, then probably about 11 years actually doing my actual job. That's where I got my start in home inspection, was working for Pulte Homes, actually. It was the West Coast director, Joaquin. He was the one that really kind of noticed my talents and what I was able to do for their company. Basically, for both companies, I wore a number of different hats, ranging from quality assurance, so code check, through their various phases of construction, to customer service, to assistant superintending. And it was him that really kind of pulled me aside and said, you got a talent about this. You ever thought about doing it on your own? And never kind of guessed it, because I was, working for these companies before the crash, and making the money I didn't anticipate myself going anywhere. But unforeseen circumstances ended up changing that pretty quickly. So I rode the waves, with the downturn in the market for a few years, and then I had a buddy of mine who's in real estate, and he kind of sat me down and said, I'm seeing changes happen here, okay, to where you might want to really start considering putting your talents to use. He got to see him firsthand. He was like, wow, you know your stuff. And I'm like, well, thanks. And so you should really do what Joaquin said. So I just ended up starting it from there in about 2009 when things started upturning a little bit, at least in the short sale market. So,
well, good for you. So basically, this has been a good thing for you, right? That all these events happen this way, huh?
It's been a wonderful thing for me.
You didn't even plan it. It just kind of started happening, huh?
No, I didn't plan it, and it just started happening. I mean, it was planned. It just, when was the time to pull the trigger? That was the big thing. I didn't want to go into something that, was just going to sit there and drag on, until maybe things kind of rebounded. So it was really, really nice and appreciated to have, my best friend there in my corner kind of saying like, hey, here you go. This is the time to kind of get things started. And so I started up Absolute Inspection Services.
Cool.
And, yeah.
So what certifications do you hold?
Well, cool. Well, in that meantime, from working for Pulte, that's where I got my start. After that, I went to ITA, Inspector Trainers Associates, and I got my certification through them to do what it is that I do. I belong to InterNACHI, which keeps all my education fresh and all my credits current, okay, to be able to perform my work. And I'm actually working on right now, about a couple of months away from being a licensed general contractor in the state of California. Okay, and that's really the licensure for us here in the state of California. Not a lot of people know that there's 20 states within the entire union that do not require a home inspector to have a license. Okay, and California is definitely one of them. Another one of the major states is New York. And it kind of shocks me that happens to be the case, that California considers it an unregulated profession, considering our responsibilities. So I'm really hoping that they do turn around, in this aspect. But I get my general contractors and won't have to say anything at that point.
It's amazing. California is so tight on every other regulation, and they're not tight on that one. Go figure that one out. And not home inspection.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, and that's why it's really, I always encourage my clients, or even anybody who's looking at a home inspection company, to represent them on a buy or even a sales, buy or sales aspect, is to definitely know the education and the background of your home inspector, so that way you're it's not just going to be a fly-by-night home inspector that's going to come and represent you, for a particular amount of money and kind of leave you in the dark, or leaving in the dark, like basically holding the bag of potential issues that they didn't even have the slightest clue about. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, but you beat me to it already, was how important it is to know the background of your home inspector, and it sounds like it's really important to know that.
It's very, very important, and, as saying, there are home inspectors out there that do come from the general contractor's background. There's home inspectors that have came in from the home inspection direction and worked through programs like mine, like Kaplan ITA, or, they come through InterNACHI or ASHI or Korea. Those are some of the programs that you definitely, granted you come to absolute inspection services or not, that is definitely something that you're going to want to ask, any home inspectors. Hey, where did your education come from? How are you continuing your credits? Are you do you belong to a program like Korea, ASHI, InterNACHI, NACHI? The list kind of goes on to be able to keep your education fresh too on new developments that are happening within the construction world. Recalls pop up all the time on different items. New construction codes come out all the time too as well. Technically, as home inspectors, we're not supposed to reference code. We're not supposed to be the code people, more or less, because that's kind of stepping into the expert realm at that point when we're trying to stick as generalists and then refer out to experts to come once we find a particular condition. So basically, with that aspect, the education is fully 100% critical to what it is that we do, considering that there's nothing that really can hold us in any particular regulation.
So kind of walk me through what a normal home inspection consists of, okay?
Okay. Well, it is a non-invasive, limited visual inspection. So we're not going to go in there with hammers and start tearing down your walls. I'm sure that you wouldn't appreciate that too much if that's what we did, and you wouldn't want to buy the house afterwards. But whatever we're able to visibly see, anything from roof to foundation, so all major systems and components. So we're going to be looking at the roof cladding system, the exterior cladding, all complete interior, electrical, plumbing, HVAC. We will dive into attics. We'll go into crawl spaces. What our job is to do is to identify health and safety issues, to identify functionality issues. For me, in my company, I like to take it a little bit step further. If I see something that might potentially be an issue for my clients down the line, I'll go ahead and report that. Okay, and say, well, you might want to monitor this particular condition, and that is our job. Our job is to be the eyes and ears of our clients in the construction world, in the world that most people generally just kind of do not understand what is going on. Hence our code regulations that we learn. Again, not trying to step into the aspect of the expert role, but that gives us our basis on knowing what is right and what has been done wrong. Of course, I can't hold a house that was built in 1928 to today's standards. There are grandfather clauses to a lot of things that are out there, but if it's something that I see, like for example, one of the most famous things that I tend to refer to upgrades, for example, would be guard railing height. In the state of California, they want 42 inches. According to the International Residential Code, they want 36. So if I have a second-story balcony to where kids can start climbing on and try and maybe jump over to the other side down all the way to the first floor, which can hurt themselves, I will go to the buyer and say, you might want to consider the additional 6 inches. It makes all the difference in the world.
So you're just making a suggestion, though, right?
And making a suggestion at that point.
It's not a deal killer. It doesn't have to be done. But you're seeing a potential...
Seeing a potential thing that can hurt the children, absolutely. It is not a requirement because actually it met the code when it was installed, most likely, at the 36 inches to the IRC. And at that point, all I can say is, might want to consider for an upgrade. You don't have to, but it's something to consider.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So... Why is it important to conduct a walkthrough with your home inspector? Because I see a lot of times, because I'm in the mortgage business, and I hear a lot of times somebody will just meet the realtor at the property. Mm-hmm. But you feel it's good for the buyer to be there, right, during the home inspection?
I think it's absolutely necessary for a buyer to be there during the walkthrough, even a seller. Regardless of whether you're doing a pre-listing inspection or you're doing one for the buyer, it helps that opportunity to be able to not only familiarize the clients, with the house and with the potential issues that have popped up, okay, and their solutions, their corrections, because that's a good time to go ahead and pick the home inspector's brain and say, well, how would you go about, who would you recommend to do this kind of work, and what do you anticipate that they might do to fix something like this? So those are the questions you can start asking. And it really takes away from the tension, too, as well. Instead of just reading something directly from a report and then trying to come up with your own solutions in your head, which most people are not familiar with the construction world, as to what the possible remedy and the solution is going to be. So it's the opportunity for the home inspector to put everything at a basis, okay, and say, this is the deal, okay, and it's not as scary as you think it is, okay. Also, it's a great opportunity for the home buyer, okay, to be able to walk through and pick my brain on operation of items, okay, service on items. For example, the hot water heater. It's got to be serviced once per year. You should drain that thing out, because just like like a pot with boiling water in there, mineralization is going to collect at the bottom, and if you continue to let that go, you can have inefficiency problems. You can have actually quite a few other problems continue to go with that hot water heater. So it's a good idea to walk around too, because if you have that general question of saying, how do I maintain this, or how do I do this, or what do you think about this over here? It gives you that peaceful sense walking into the transaction, that you are fully aware of what it is that you are walking into before you make the biggest purchase of your life.
I know. I see both sides of the fence on these home inspections, because I hear from realtors, and they'll read the report and they'll get all upset thinking, oh my gosh, the whole house is ready to fall down. But that's probably because somebody wasn't there with you. Had the buyer and the seller been there, right?
Right.
They would have. You could have counseled them that you're not trying to find everything wrong with the house. You're just trying to point out things so they're educated, correct?
Exactly. It's like the old saying goes when it comes to text messages or emails. They're impersonal. Reading something on a report is highly impersonal, and it just kind of depends on what area you're coming from, like if you are coming from the realtor's aspect or even the buyer's aspect, and you just don't have that understanding. Hence why it is very, very critical. I've heard of home inspectors that do not like to do walkthroughs with their clients. Maybe they're just not persons as it is, but it's just a great opportunity to be able to actually fully 100% put everything into basis for both the buyer and the realtor to disarm it, because really I believe, and I've seen it in construction, there's nothing that can't be remedied, there's nothing that can't be repaired, and there's nothing that scary. And any great realtor out there, which pretty much everyone in the Sacramento region is great, they're not going to put their clients in a situation or into a home that's falling apart that they can visibly see. Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
We're coming up on a 1 minute. We're going to have like 1 minute for a break. Give out your information, contact information right now at this point in the show, if you could.
Perfect. It sounds great. Well, my name is Michael Petras. I'm the owner-operator of Absolute Inspection Services. You can reach me at 916-426-2424, or you can visit my website at www.absoluteinspections.com to book and order your inspection online.
We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, back to the happy hour with Rob Warner on Money 105.5 and Money1055.biz.
Welcome back to the happy hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. We are back with our guest, Michael Petras. Mike, right? You go by Mike, right?
Yeah, Mike, generally.
I know.
If you call me Michael, I start thinking I'm in trouble, and I look for my mother. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Mom, I didn't do anything.
I know. My name's Robert, but, my mom called me that, but everybody else calls me Rob, so it's kind of funny.
Isn't everybody afraid of their full name?
So
not.
you were talking about the home inspections. You were talking about how important it is for the buyer or even the seller to be there, and you don't mind them, and you encourage them to be there during a home inspection, which
Absolutely.
I think is outstanding, by the way. When do you provide the inspection reports?
My inspection reports are always issued within 24 hours of when I actually leave the property and get back to my office. Right now, as it is, with my incredible software that I do have going on, I'm developing to where I'm going to be writing the reports right on site and have them delivered right then and there. So crossing my fingers, that I'm just probably about a couple months away. There's always new issues that are going to pop up in the construction world, so it's not just as easy as pushing a button. But I'm trying to make it that direction.
Well, how does that work for you doing them right on the spot? You have to be pretty detailed, right, on everything you're doing then. So.
Exactly. As us as home inspectors, we do come across a lot of the same issues, as we go through homes, all ranging from, hot water heater age, exceeding its life expectancy to 9 to 13 years or a various amount of different things. And, we all come up with our ways, to go ahead and describe, our particular conditions, which are gently kind of pointing it out, what's the consequences of, that particular condition and who to come in and to actually make the replacements or make the repairs, to that particular situation. So I basically just kind of put it all in writing, and, my report software allows me to be able to save those particular, those particulars, that continue to come up. So it's just a matter of, taking the photo, putting the direction on it, and that particular general staying to say, like, hey, this is what needs to be done to go ahead and remedy the condition. So things, they, like I said, they do change. There's always something. There always is going to be a new item that should pop up. Generally, than just having something as easy as being able to press buttons and make it routine all the way for every house that you go through. But I'm trying to make it easy.
Well, doing it right away is going to be great, because I know right now with the market as hot as it is, times of the essence, everything's being reduced, contingencies periods, inspection period, to try to get the escrow periods shorter to get the offers accepted, right? So if you can produce a home inspection report on site or even within a couple hours of being there, that's going to be a feather in your cap.
It's a huge advantage, and it's actually something that I do encourage, fellow home inspectors out there, considering just what you said too as well. Look at your softwares, figure out how to do this, okay, and figure out how to be a little bit more customer service oriented in that aspect, for your clients, for your realtors out there. Things are moving and shaking. Things are, timelines are being cut down, just like you said. I also refer out pest inspections, roof inspections, well and septic, the list goes on, all depending on what you call me and ask me to do. And, I know that the companies that I refer out, that sometimes they're generally busier than me, or they can be. And, I try and get that all locked into a certain date within their contingency period, so they don't have to make several trips out to the property and, exhaust their buyers.
I've heard that before, too. Somebody has the home inspection, then I got to go back 3 days later for a well inspection. I got to go back to, it's like an endless amount of time. And I try and make it, grouped up, or I make it grouped up for you so that you don't have to do that. Just for anybody that's listening in, when you do give me a call, just let me know what your needs are, what your buyer's needs are. And I'll go ahead and I'll get it all scheduled out for you so that you can concentrate on doing what it is that you need to be doing the most, and that's your lead generation. Okay, here's the biggie for me, okay? I'm a lender, right? You know that.
Oh, yeah. The best.
You have this cool checklist, and I think this is just, I don't know why, I just think this is the greatest thing in the world, this checklist for like FHA and VA loans, and probably could be used for other things too. But an actual checklist that a buyer or a realtor could walk through a house before they even make an offer, right?
That's it. That is the purpose.
And check off just some rudimentary, well, you can explain it, basically. Okay. Tell us what that's all about.
Sure, I'd be honored. Okay, so basically what I made was I made a quick list checklist, so basic NPRs for FHA and VA loans. What this is designed to do is to not bypass, and it's not an appraisal process. But
what's NPR, by the way?
NPR is just requirements. Okay, so yeah, exactly, requirements that they're looking for.
Okay.
In terms of the acronym again, I'm trying to remember. You got me stumped there. All of a sudden, I'm on the spot.
All right, that's all right.
But I know it's the requirements that appraisers are pretty much held to. Okay, in order to pass FHA and VA loans. Okay. So what I did was I put everything together, okay, according to the sheets, and I talked to several appraisers, talked to a couple of underwriters, and took the list, that the information I was able to get, and kind of conglomerated down to a usable list that any realtor, mortgage professional, anybody, or even a buyer, granted they're at an open house, okay, could walk through, okay, and just kind of check off, okay, and see how easy this could potentially be going for them. For realtors, it's a huge advantage. It's designed basically that if you have that particular loan, FHA, VA, or even conventional in some particular situations, that you can go through and get yourself a really start checking off and give yourself a huge head start in terms of requesting for repairs or setting up the property so that it can pass appraisal. Okay, as you mentioned earlier, timelines, they're getting down. Okay, people want shorter and shorter times to close. This market's moving, it's shaking, it's alive. Okay, and with this list, you take, if a realtor would take just the 5 minutes to go through or familiarize with themselves with this list, they can walk around and identify and say, oh, I got CO detectors missing here. Oh, I've got this condition going here. I've got that condition going here. I got this. I get this. Or they take a look. Oh, well, this property line happens to be this, and it won't qualify for VA. It will save yourself the hassle, save yourself the headache, and it'll make the appraisal process go smooth. That is the point of this list. Now, it is not an appraisal, okay, and it does not circumvent the appraisal process, but it certainly helps with it and streamlines everything you're looking for.
I don't know how many times I see something that could have been fixed, remedied pretty quick, $15 item or whatever, and it gets called out, and then the appraiser has to go back and they're going to charge a $150 re-inspect fee. And had somebody used a low checklist and just did a cursory review of the property, they could have had that all done, the water heater strapped, the CO2 detector, all that little stuff done. Appraiser would have showed up, not called out any of that stuff, right?
100%. It's definitely exactly what you said, 1,000%. It sets that up to where that doesn't happen. That's something that I do see a lot of, especially with FHA, VA loans, is that appraisers are making that extra $150 on going out to something as remedial as what you're talking about: CO detectors, hot water heater straps, smoke detectors, and the list goes on and on. And with this list, I do encourage you call in or call me at my number. I'll be more than happy to hand it out to you. It's absolutely free of charge to anybody that asks for it, and put it into play and see the actual difference that it does make. The realtors that have put it into play, that do use my company, they notice a difference when their times of being able to close, and they thank me for that. They give me a call. They say, wow, this really kind of put these things in perspective.
You're the only home inspector I've seen have something like this. And folks, I encourage you to call Mike and get this, because this is huge if you're in the preliminary stage. This is why you're not out the appraisal fee and the home inspection fee, especially if some of this stuff won't, needs to be cured up front, just to get, get it to meet FHA guidelines. It's not saying you can't go ahead with it, with the purchase, but then it's just you're getting delayed to fix stuff.
Exactly. Going back over things that, you could have addressed days earlier, by when you submit your offer and the offer gets accepted. I know sometimes it's kind of like, ooh, well, let me already hand you something. Right as you get your offer accepted. I know that sometimes maybe the listing agent might be like, really, you already given me a list for repairs?
Yeah.
But
probably not repairs, though. Let me say that, right? But stuff
repairs.
that meets that's going to cause an appraiser to have to go back out again.
Exactly,
right?
And the listing realtor should see that as a benefit too. They'll be like, if you're the realtor, calling and saying like, here's the deal, let's go ahead and get these taken care of so that we can set it up for the appraisal process. Explain to the listing agent, say, hey, if we get these things done, me and you are going to have a really smooth transaction, and everything's going to go smooth for our buyer.
There
so
you go.
Think about that in the customer service aspect of it.
That's so important. So you're going to give out your contact information one more time, because we got a minute left in this show, and I don't want people to forget how to get a hold of you. So.
Okay, well, it's Absolute Inspection Services. My name is Michael Petras. I'm the owner-operator. My number is 916-426-2424. You can visit me online at www.absoluteinspectionsca.com to book your online appointment too as well.
Been great having you, and we're looking forward to being with you folks next Monday, so enjoy your week.
Thank you, Rob. Awesome.
All
Call
right.
Rob,
You're
Guild
welcome.
Mortgage.
Guild Mortgage Company is an equal housing lender. NMLS 3274, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California...